Square Cow Countdowns. What's up? I rigged the title with C4. It just seemed appropriate for this episode because the topic is the top 10 deadliest video game weapons. Oh, that was cool. This list is not about power-ups, items, or magic. Just good old-fashioned weapons. So things like the Metroid Ice Beam, Semtex, Frags, or even Cole from Infamous's Electric Powers don't qualify for this list. To help diversify the list, I decided to only use one weapon per franchise and only one weapon per type. So I can't have two of the same kind of weapon, regardless of what game they're from. And I'm only going to include weapons that I've actually used in their respective game or games. I mean, how can I talk about something that I've never used? Well, there you have it. Those are the rules. Let's get this show on the road! Number 10. I know what you're thinking. Slash, what the hell are you smoking? Tetrominos aren't weapons! Well, hear me out. In a high-level game where pieces are raining down faster than you can say, whoa, seeing the piece you need is a godsend, and using said piece is just as gratuitous as blowing something's head off because it results in either a huge payoff of points or a huge headache for your opponent. In that regard, Tetrominos are as much a weapon as any gun. What? At least I didn't put it higher on the list. Sheesh. Number 9. Eddie Riggs' Gibson Flying V with a sweet fire body design. Don't ask me why I know what kind of guitar Clementine is, because I couldn't tell you. The guitar can electrocute and burn enemies for continual damage. Clementine is also one versatile shredder, as she's capable of playing solos which act as spells. These can do anything from summon cars and beasts to simply melting enemy faces with the power of rock. Needless to say, it's a truly awesome and invaluable instrument to have by your side. Number 8. In the case of the RCXD, good things really do come in small packages. Well, I mean, it's good for whoever gets to use it and bad for who it gets used on. Apart from being an excellent surveillance tool, this ankle-high remote control car is loaded with enough explosives to make even the best of players whimper. Despite its size, this thing does just as much, if not more damage than an RPG. It might be ridiculously overpowered, but that's trumped when you remember that all it takes to stop a rampaging RCXD is just one well-aimed shot. Number 7. People might think that Travis Touchdown's weapon of choice is a rip-off of the infamous lightsaber, and it kind of is, but don't mistake it for being the same thing, because it's not. It might be similar, but a beam katana runs on batteries, and it doesn't cauterize the wounds it creates, unlike a lightsaber. Another major difference is that a lightsaber is made up of nothing but energy, whereas a beam katana seems to be a sword that is, enhanced by lasers. It's metal, and then there's a laser beam around it, enveloping it, And as we've seen in No More Heroes, the beam katana is particularly useful for decapitating rival hitmen, marks, and any other security personnel surrounding them. And for some reason, regardless of where you hit them, this thing always seems to injure people's spleens. What the hell does the spleen even do? They never taught me about that kind of thing in biology. Number 6. This thing goes by many names. The Chicago Typewriter, Thompson M1A1, or just simply the Tommy gun. In Resi 4, for the not at all ridiculous price of 1,000,000 pesetas, you can get your hands on this infamous submachine gun. Now, what's so special about it that it deserves to be on this list? Well, for one thing, it has infinite ammo, and does enough damage to kill a typical Ganado in 1 or 2 shots. Apart from the PRL 412, it's the best weapon the game has to offer. Even though I've only ever used the Chicago Typewriter, I'm pretty sure that the PRL wouldn't be nearly as much fun to use. So either way, it still wouldn't be on this list. Number 5. In the original Uncharted game, the M79 is that one gun that players wish they could use all the time, especially after Chapter 8, wherein Elena has one that has infinite ammo. Sadly, she loses it after a while, and then for the remaining jet ski levels you're forced to do it with a basic pistol, which is so much harder when you actually got used to the M79. Why is this gun so good? Because it's idiot-proof. To use it, just aim in an enemy's general direction, shoot, and then watch them go flying. 99.9% of the time, it's an instant kill. Not to mention it makes a great sound when you shoot it. It's really satisfying. Unlike its replacement in Uncharted 2 and 3, the M32 Hammer. It's just not as fun. Number 4. You know you've got a great weapon in your hands when players all duck instinctively when they hear it being fired. The railgun is one such weapon. When it was introduced in Quake 2, it was the weapon of choice, even dethroning the mighty rocket launcher. The railgun is any sniper's dream. It doesn't need to be aimed with a scope, and each shot can go through any enemies that cross paths with its signature beam. Even though it requires some serious strategy to handle the reload time, in the right hands, it's absolutely lethal. Number 3. Everybody likes rocket launchers, right? Well, except people that are on the receiving end of the rockets. In the Ratchet & Clank series, there's no such thing as overpowered. There's also no such thing as, practical weapons. Normal weapons to us serve as inspiration for Gadgetron's uber counterparts. They take a look at a rocket launcher, and out comes the Rhino 5, an intergalactic hero's interpretation of a can full of whoop-ass. This gun literally fires thousands of miniature rockets when you hold down the trigger, and they all find their mark, because each rocket automatically hones in and annihilates anything in your vicinity. Oh, and did I mention that this thing plays the 1812 overture as you fire? That's the best part! So cool! Number 2. One of the most innovative gameplay designs in video game history would have to be the Blades of Chaos. In God of War, they are Kratos' unique weapon of choice. When I say choice, I mean only logical option. They were obtained during a moment of weakness when Kratos begged the god of war Ares to spare his life. To answer his prayers, Ares seared these blades into his flesh and helped him defeat an army. So since they can't really come off, he might as well use them. And that's exactly what gave God of War its vicious yet refreshing feel. The sheer ingenuity of the blades and the combat system that they allowed for is one that's extremely hard to match. I'm looking at you, Dante's Inferno. Your stupid flexible scythe has got nothing on these bad boys, you hear me? Nada. Zilch. Okay, now before we get to number 1, let's recap. Number 10, Tetrominos. Number 9, Clementine. Hey, that rhymed. Number 8, the RCXD. Number 7, the Beam Katana. Number 6, the Chicago Typewriter. Number 5, the M79. Number 4, the Railgun. Number 3, the Rhino 5. And number 2, the Blades of Chaos. And now, without any further ado, we'll move on to number 1. Not only was Final Fantasy VII the first game in the series to be on the PlayStation, but it was also the first game in the series to feature guns as weapons. Most notably was Barrett Wallace's arm, which he had a prosthetic gun grafted into. But it's not just any gun, it's the greatest gun ever. I mean, just look at all the cool stuff it can do in terms of his limit breaks. Still not convinced that this weapon deserves to be number 1? What if I told you that there's a total of 16 different kinds of weapons that you can equip Barrett with? Hell, some of them aren't even guns. At least 5 of those weapons are designed for melee combat, making Barrett the most versatile character in terms of short-range and long-range attacking. I could go on, but I think I've made my point. This is hands down the deadliest video game weapon of all time. Wow, all this talk of weapons has drained me. But before I go, stay tuned during the credits for a list of some honorable mentions that didn't make it onto the list. Anyways, that's all I've got to say. So until next time, peace out.